Welcome back to another episode of the Atomic Business Coaching Podcast. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing great, Adam. It's opening day for baseball. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood when there's baseball games on television.
It is fun. I was a little disappointed. I'm going into a board meeting today for the bank that I'm on the board of, and I messaged my representative there. I'm like, "What do these guys hate baseball?" I'm like, "Come on, we're in New York. We got the Mets, we got the Yankees, both playing during our board meeting. Can't we? Like, come on, you know?"
Well, it is. I'll give him. It's usually a 110 game on opening day, but
I know.
for some reason, everybody's 410 or 710 tonight. And the Mets are in Houston, so it's 310. Kind of weird, but okay, whatever. It is what it is. I wonder who made that decision.
It's always been a day game. It's always been a 1 o'clock day game. Get out your ski caps. We went last year. I had to buy my son a ski cap for it. Yeah, but I got more important things to do. The Mets will handle their business, but I got to handle mine. And like I said, I'm going to a board meeting, and this is for a financial institution, a bank that I sit on their board as the advisory board. But you and I do a lot of board meetings for our clients. It's one of the things that we provide in our Simple CEO system is board meetings. So I want to talk a little bit about the importance of board meetings and what you're really supposed to be looking at, the way that traditional companies do it, and then the way that we offer it to our clients. Because the purpose, like tonight, what I'm going to do is we're going to get a state of the company. Like, where is this bank? Where are they at? What are they doing? How are things operating? What's on the horizon for the future? What obstacles do we believe are going to get in our way? What problems did we have over the past quarter? Did we make profit? Did we hire employees? Who do we have to bring on to support the system? Who do we have to let go of because things have things have happened? And the idea is a group of people get together, stakeholders in your company, and you're really discussing on how do we maintain and grow this business? How do we use our resources to the best of their ability? And what new resources do we have to pay for? And that's really what a board meeting is. And I don't care if you're a multi-billion-dollar bank or you're a mom and pop shop or you're a solopreneur sitting at home. You have to go through this process with yourself. And that's why Tom and I do it, right? We go through this with our clients a little bit differently. We look at the business, but then we also look at the owner and how is their life and how are they operating in this. And the way that we perform this is the same as a traditional board meeting, but we're looking at the entity and the owner. And it's really important to assess what's going on with all of these things. So what do you feel is going on with the board meetings that we provide for our clients?
Well, I think it's a bit unique in the sense that we do spend time looking at the person, the individual, as well as the business as a whole, right? Where it's a holistic board meeting. It's almost like a board meeting for your life and your business. And that's a little bit different than traditional board meetings, but they're so instrumental in giving us the opportunity to really provide advice for people and if they're struggling with certain things, to coach them through those things that they're struggling with. And, it's really a very important thing to do. And not enough people take a moment every once in a while to reflect on where is their business at? Where is their life at? Where are they going? What are the goals that they're trying to achieve? People tend to, as solopreneurs and small companies, they just tend to go and just do things. They don't necessarily go and plan. They don't necessarily understand everything that's happening. They don't know their numbers. And I think our board meetings have really built a beautiful construct of what it really takes to be the CEO of your organization, right? Because my experience of board meetings is a little different than yours. I've been involved more with nonprofit board meetings where the main role of the board is governance and making sure that the CEO who the board has hired is carrying out everything that needs to be carried out based on the strategic plan and the strategy of the organization on a larger level. And I feel like we're doing the same thing. We're giving the CEOs of their companies this advice and this governance too of how they should be running their company. We're not necessarily involved in all the decision making that they are doing, but we are recommending certain things, and it really helps a lot of them to feel like, oh, I'm on top of my business. I know what my business is about. And these are the action lists that I need to take, this is the action that I have to take in order to move to the next level. And okay. And that's what the beauty of our board means is everybody walks away with an action item list, right? We have two different types of action items. We have tasks and we have habits, because as coaches, essentially, we are trying to help CEOs form better habits. And a lot of times what comes up in our discussion are things that they need to create as habits so that they can sustain the life of their business in the long run. And the board meeting is an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and really if I were to summarize it up for me, is the importance of these board meetings for our clients is that it finally gives them a space to sit back for 2 hours and assess and really look at what's going on. Because we're in it every single day. We're in our businesses and we have to put out all the fires and get excited about all the opportunities and make all the money. But the culmination of all that needs its own place. And whether you're going to go ahead and do this on your own once a month, once a quarter, once a year, it really should be done on a regular frequency so you can then decide on three major things. And those three major things that we look at is what got you to where you are now? Like, what did you do in the past? The middle part of this is, okay, well, where are we and how do we maintain this? And then the final part is really how do we go ahead and get where we want to go? And if you just had a simple framework of those three, how did we get here? Where are we? How do we maintain it? And what are we going to do to get where we want to go? That's going to allow you at least to start analyzing and using that information to make better decisions.
And that's the key point, right? And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about is how decisions are often made very short-sighted by newer business owners. I'm seeing a pattern that a lot of business owners just make these haphazard decisions, and most of them are made out of fear, or they're made out of lack of money, or they're made out of some chaos in their world or their business. And the decisions are not good decisions for the life of the business. And what the board meeting really allows them to do is to learn how to be more strategic, more planned out. We do forecasting in the finances and teach people how to forecast their expenses and forecast what's in their pipeline. And all of those things without the board meeting lead to these haphazard decisions. And when they're in the board meeting and they see where they're trying to go and making longer term goals and have better vision for their business, they can start to make better decisions, because we cannot make decisions out of fear. And I think that's one of the biggest things that comes up often in most of these business owners that we're working with is they're making decisions always out of fear. Mm-hmm. Where a board meeting and what we do allows for better structure for decision making, so that the decisions, they're not all going to be easy. They're going to be difficult decisions. But because we take the time to examine the full business, you're able to really make an informed decision. And that's what we want to get all business owners to is making these informed decisions, because you can cost yourself a lot of headache, a lot of stress, a lot of energy, and literally burn yourself out because you're making too many haphazard decisions when there is an opportunity to make better informed decisions. If you're starting to realize that you are having this getting in the way of yourself problem, then you need a little bit of help with these sabotaging behaviors. So go to atomicbusinesscoaching.com, check out what we do, how we do it, and we will help you to get out of your own way so that you can move your business forward.
I mean, we've had clients just recently start making decisions that were uninformed, and it negatively affected them, right? It put them in what they thought they were solving a problem, and they actually were in that moment. It caused chaos in the rest of their business because it had these negative consequences to so many other things that they were doing. And it's like if you're all of a sudden, like, take money for an example. If you're taking money and spending it on one thing and solving that problem, that's great. But if you didn't understand why you were making that decision, because you made it kind of reactionary and you didn't look at, like, well, why are we making these decisions? Well, this person actually then hurt another part of their business and put themselves in a situation that was almost worse than if they did anything at all. If they would have just left things alone, they would have been okay. But now they had to recover from a problem where they made a decision that they thought would help. And it's like, and then they start to get kind of imposter syndrome, and they're worried, like, wow, I'm making all these bad decisions. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. And it's not that. It's just not having a guiding light to why we're making decisions and how we're coming about those. And that's really what it comes down to of really looking at what's the purpose of now knowing your numbers, right? Like knowing your numbers and really understanding every detail that's inside of your business when it comes to financial information, to data. The reason that we collect data and look at our P&L statements and cash flows and balance sheets and even metrics from our marketing and all these things, the reason why we do this is we have to remove emotion out of that decision-making process. And when we know the numbers, okay, and we've calculated them and we are 100% sure of them, that is the key. If we're guessing, this doesn't work. But we really know those numbers. Now we make informed decisions, as Tom was saying. And those decisions are based in fact and figure, not like I'm excited about something, I'm upset about something, I'm desperate, whatever the emotion is. It's just like, okay, no, here's how much money we made, here's how much money we have left over, and here are the things we want to do, we can do them. Or here's the effort we put forth with an email campaign, here are the results, it worked, so let's do more. It didn't work, so let's change it. Or a lot of the times you'll jump in and say, all right, let's change something because I feel like this will be better. But we have no information, evidence to back that up. And that's why the numbers it's just black and white. Like it's just calculations and that's what it says. That's what the number on the page says. So based on the number on the page, here's what we can do. Okay. Here's what we did right. Here's what we did wrong. And that's really it. So you even spending time on a weekly or monthly basis, nitty gritty, knowing your numbers is kind of like a mini board meeting, right? It's at least saying, all right, I understand where everything is at. Now I can make those informed decisions that are not connected to anything except data.
You bring up a very important point. When you look at facts and figures and you look at the black and white of the data that's in front of you, it makes it very objective and removes the emotion. When we make a lot of decisions out of fear, we're just slapping Band-Aids on things and hoping that it's going to fix, right? You have a cut and you're hoping a Band-Aid is going to stop the bleeding. Well, we obviously know that that's not always the case. And in order to really stop the bleeding, you got to put a tourniquet on the arm so that the bleeding can stop. And what happens is the decisions that we make based on emotions and without the facts and figures just become Band-Aids over and over and over. And you just stack a bunch of dirty Band-Aids on top of each other and you wind up with a terrible mess. The key is you got to get to the root cause of the problem. And looking at your numbers and understanding your numbers and knowing how to forecast the numbers for the next couple of months will allow you to make more objective decisions and not manage your business based on emotion, but really base it in facts and figures. Because we tend to, as business owners, we tend to be very emotional about our business because it's our passion, it's our baby, and all of those things come into play, and it obscures and puts blinders on us from looking at the facts and the figures. And that's one of the beautiful things about the board meetings themselves is it's an opportunity to sit back every month and say, okay, how much did I make? How much did I spend? And what do I need to do better next month so that I make the profit I want to make and so that I have enough money to make payroll and do all the things that I need to do to operate my business. And so, I mean, that's one thing about like knowing your numbers. The other thing that I see come out of a lot of our board meetings too is people now can make the better decision around what they need to go and get, whether it's a service, it's a new vendor, it's an employee. And a lot of times business owners in their day-to-day are not asking enough questions to know exactly what they're getting from someone. And it leads to more problems on the other side of all this. So you do all this hard work in the board meeting to keep track of all your numbers and you understand everything that we're trying to do. And then you don't go and ask the right questions to someone that you're hiring or that you need as a service. And you wind up with now another pile of garbage and a pile of mess because you didn't do the right thing and asking, what am I getting for this? Right? One of our clients in particular, he made a decision to pay his accountant for the full year. And it was a substantial amount of money that he was spending on this accountant. And I said to him, well, what are you getting for that money? Is this to file your taxes once a year? Is it to file your taxes quarterly? Is it to give you advice? And he could not answer that question. So now he's taken a very critical amount of money that he needs for his life and his business, and he has spent it on something, and he doesn't know what he's getting for it. And that's where we have to make better decisions. And that's one of the opportunities that board meetings allow us to do, is to examine and find out where we may not have made the best decision in acquiring a new service or a new person because we didn't ask the right questions. And we've seen that happen time and time again.
What all this really boils down to is you can't just play the same role all the time. And whether you have a board that's going to help you to do this, or you have to act in a different capacity, you have to remove yourself out of the day-to-day to start assessing and understanding all these things that have really big impact on your life and your business. And it's from making certain decisions to knowing your numbers, doing board meetings. All these tiny little decisions will build up and then all of a sudden change the next 3 months of your life and your business. And if you're sitting there thinking like you'll just grind it out and go through it, it's not the way to do it. It's you have to remove yourself from a situation, even if you have to physically remove yourself, like wherever you work normally, if you have to go to another office, or go in your house, or go to a coffee shop and start looking at it and saying, okay, this is my time to make these decisions. This is the time to gather all my data and know my numbers, or this is the time to have a mini board meeting with myself. You don't have to pay 2 coaches to do this, but it has to be done, right? It has to allow for the space for you to spend time doing these things, because it's just a part of running any business. Like I said, whether you're a $1 billion business or you're a solopreneur, these are things that must get done in order to have success, because it will all just build up around you and come crashing down, and decisions will start to be made for you. And that's where a lot of these people were put in. They were put in situations where the decision was now made for them because they didn't take time to allow to make their own decisions.
And that leads to a tremendous feeling of a loss of control, which then triggers a lot of overwhelm, and people lose their shit, literally lose their shit, because they don't know how to recover from that. And this is why it's so critical to understand when you're making a decision that you need to know all the pieces and all the information that you can possibly know in that moment. And you have to accept that you're not going to know everything that you need to know to make that decision. But the more information, the more questions you ask, the better that decision will more likely be. And listen, it's all a learning experience at the end of the day. And every decision that you make is the stepping stone to the next decision that needs to be made. And you get better as you become a more seasoned business owner. But if you don't take a step back and reflect, right? And that's the other big piece of this, is the reflection on what you're doing. And that's what the board meetings allow us to do, is to take time to really reflect on the business that we may not ordinarily be sitting back and doing. And like Adam said before, it's, you got to think about it, and you got to go to a different location, because that will give you the opportunity to remove yourself so that you can really think through and reflect. Some of our other clients were talking about slow seasons right now, and they feel that things are moving very slowly. They're not getting the typical volume of work that they get, and they're in kind of that ebb and flow. And I said the ebb is really a great time to reflect on what you're doing. So it's a time that maybe you need to call an emergency board meeting and sit down and be like, all right, what do I need to do differently in my business so that I can restore or come through these difficult times where I'm in the middle of an ebb rather than a flow?
Well, Tom, let's go Mets.
Let's go. Talking about board meetings, and I mean, they do this all the time. They have to have a meeting before every game to reflect on what they did in the last game and move forward. So
there you go.
Everybody does it.
All right. Well, hopefully this was useful for you. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us at atomicbusinesscoaching.com. You can find ways to connect with us, newsletters, this podcast, obviously, and plenty of other ways to work with us. Or you can look us up on LinkedIn. You can find me under Adam Thomas on LinkedIn, even though I'm Adam Thomas Hurd. Adam Thomas on LinkedIn. You can find Tom Marino on LinkedIn. You can find us on all the platforms under Atomic Business Coaching, anyone that's out there. And yeah, if you need anything or you know someone who needs this, send this podcast to them and hopefully you change their life. Have a great day.